Hello, I'm here to review My Dying Bride's Feel the Misery. Okay, just quick introduction to this channel. I'm going to be reviewing a lot of metal albums, a lot of them obscure, but see, I always have a hard time finding YouTube channels that can find the most obscure metal bands that are also excellent. Oh, no, sometimes not even that obscure. I mean, it's My Dying Bride. They're still big time players, just not completely mainstream. They're kind of the kings of the underground when it comes to Gothic Doom. And I'll be reviewing their Feel the Misery album, which I believe came out in 2015, so it's a few years now. And they're apparently been recording their new album, which I can't wait. I've been a big fan since the early 2000s actually. First album I heard of theirs was Songs of Darkness, Words of Light. But today I'll be reviewing Feel the Misery. Now this is quite a good album actually, I have to say. It starts off with the first song's quite catchy, And My Father Left Forever. I have heard people talk about how he wrote it about his father, but actually in fact they already recorded the vocals and everything before his father passed away, so it's not actually about his father. But he did note, Aaron Stainthorpe did note that it felt a bit prophetic and also a bit of a weird coincidence, and not a good coincidence obviously, but yeah. But it's an excellent song. It's probably one of the most catchiest songs on this album. Not the catchiest. That definitely goes to the title track, Feel the Misery, which was, I think, just intended as just a straightforward, catchy doom and gloom song. And it's probably unique off this album, actually. Most of the songs on this album are actually probably, if I had to compare it to another My Dying Bride album or a series of albums, I'd probably put it around the Light at the End of the World, The Dreadful Hours, and Songs of Darkness, Words of Light. Around that era, it's much closer to that than it has been to their latest string of albums, which are excellent in themselves, but I do like that era of My Dying Bride. That's probably my favourite era. It mixes the best of Gothic atmosphere, putting that into a more brutal death metal with a lot of doom. Okay, after we get past And My Father Left Forever, which is a great song, and especially starts off very catchy, we go into The Shiver in Empty Halls. This song, along with A Cold New Curse, and actually along with Within a Sleeping Forest, especially these three songs are, I think, much more towards very much middle of the ground, death doom, more death doom than even Gothic doom. My Dying Bride, and they're brilliant. As I said, this album captures more clearly the Dreadful Hours era, where they were keeping it with a lot of death metal elements. So this has a lot more death metal elements than their previous 3 or 4 albums, which I have to say is great. They did tell us before the album came out that it is going to have a lot of death, and that's what they gave us. However, Feel the Misery, the song itself, is very catchy, and you can tell it was definitely made to be kind of just a one-off, very much, very groovy kind of doom metal song. It's a lot less death metal elements. In fact, if I can remember, there's no death metal elements on that song. It's the title track, and when they were recording the album, they just said that they just wanted a doom and gloom song that kind of punched you in a groovy way. And that definitely sums up that song. It is a great song still, and it's probably the song that most stays in my head because of its groove. A Thorn of Wisdom and I Celebrate Your Skin. These are still kind of death doom, but they have a lot of if anyone can remember from the early death doom days of My Dying Bride, they had a lot of kind of dark wave influence as well. And this actually goes back to that. There's a lot of periods in these songs where it just goes straight up, loses the metal altogether, and goes more into a dark wave territory. Very, very gothic, very atmospheric, no metal elements whatsoever, as interludes within the songs. And it was great to listen to. I have to say, there's nothing really else more to say about it. It very much evokes the Turn Loose the Swans, which is probably the last time they really experimented with that kind of stuff, but doesn't quite go into the experimental stuff that they did on 34 point... can't even remember the name of that album, but yeah, you know what the album I'm talking about, if you caught up with My Dying Bride, but yeah, you'll see it in their catalogue. And probably one song that I'd like to comment on, I Almost Loved You. This is not a metal song. It is a brilliant song, it's very sad, very emotional, probably the most emotional song on the album. It's not a metal song, it's very much goes into, it probably wouldn't be out of place on their Evinter record, which was purely orchestrations with Aaron Stainthorpe putting vocals here and there. But, as I said, I've seen a lot of reviews of Evinter, a lot of people weren't happy. I've got it, I quite loved it, but I also like music that's sometimes not even metal, just atmosphere, with his very, very hypnotic vocals on it. And that's what this song is. It's a lot of piano, some keyboards, and vocals. And it pretty much sticks to that. But very emotional, very, very sad. You'll want to listen to it more than once, that's for sure. But overall, this album is probably one of their best, I'd say. I'd rate it over their previous, well, most of their records actually. It's probably one of my top records so far, and I've been very impressed with it. It has my thumbs up. I'm not going to give it a score because I'm not really into giving scores because different people are into different things. But this one is definitely something that has engaged me quite a fair bit, and I've listened to it many times, and seeing that I'm the type of person that constantly keeps looking for new metal bands to listen to. For me to listen to an album more than 10 times a year is a pretty big feat, and this one's got it. So, My Dying Bride, Feel the Misery.